This is a Lip Media podcast.
Welcome back to part 2 of our bonus episode of Me, I Am a Memoir, the meaning of Mariah Carey, where me, Fab, and that, Posh, dig into Mariah Carey's debut album, Mariah Carey. We've already listened to side 1 of the vinyl, or the cassette. If it's a CD, you've just paused after vanishing. Or if you're streaming it, you probably had an ad pop up by now. So yes, we're going to continue from the start of side 2. Bring me on down.
All right, let's jump into a little All in Your Mind, which was
side 2.
I've
turned over the tape. Right? I'm on side 2.
We're on written by Mariah and Miriam. This was also a first listen for me about 12 months ago. My
Which
initial shocks.
Shocked.
I will say on my initial listen, I said it's okay. Whistle notes help. But I will say it did grow on me for the second listen. So I gave it a slightly higher score upon my second listen. But before I give you that, before you give me a little spiel, it was almost in a film.
It was almost in a film.
As I mentioned in our last chapter about certain songs that I could just hear a Gloria Estefan singing.
Oh, yeah.
It's this. I can imagine a slightly more up-tempo remix.
Yeah.
Without the whistle notes.
Without the whistle notes. A little bit flat.
There are actual whistles.
Someone's got
some of
those
flute.
little bongo drums she loves to have around.
Yeah.
Which is,
I can hear that. And I think that I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Because
maybe
you'd
a
have
bit of extra like flamenco kind of guitar sound.
Absolutely. And the whistle notes would be just a flute.
Yeah.
Panpipes. But I feel like this is one that you quite like.
Yeah, I like All in Your Mind. I mean, there are a lot of whistle notes. Again, a song that I liked, feels a little overproduced as everything that they're tilting at a single feels. This one feels kind of not as heavily done as There's Got to Be a Way, but again, this is the video that first Vision video that came out. One of the moments is her with her gorgeous group of backup singers just sitting in like a stairwell, and they look around and they go, "Shall we?" And they just do a cappella All in Your Mind for the fun of it.
Yeah.
And it's just joyous and fun, and it kind of, I think that thinking of that lifts the actual produced song for me a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I think of them in the studio having fun and singing it, and it's because it is a fun, like, upbeat song, but it's not my favorite thing on the album, but I do like it a lot better than some of the other tilts at a single.
I will say this was one that upon my first listen, I probably would have said it was my least favorite. And I had originally given it a 3, but upon re-listen, I bumped it up to a 3.5.
Yeah, because they just sound like they're having fun. Like, it sounds like fun.
It's another one where it's just that sort of simple melody just starts getting in there.
Yeah.
And you can hear the whistles and so it did. So now I struggle to we'll get to favourites and least favourites at the end, but I'm not entirely sure where I'm going to go with this.
A good album should have very few favourites, like maybe 1 or 2 standouts, but you should be able to go, I could listen to that whole album again.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
Easily listen to every song all in a row. Very easily.
Yeah.
And
true.
I do feel that with this album. Like, once you get over
I
the
feel
shock
like
of Vision
it's
of
becoming,
Love.
Yeah, it's becoming, I feel like maybe initially it was a little spotty, but now I'm filling in the blanks.
Yeah.
You know?
But yeah, once you get over that shock of Vision of Love, you're like, whoa, what is this? And then you go, like, okay, no, we've got a little poppy one. Oh, yeah, another ballad.
That's always something that I find interesting as well about people when they have a big hit from an album.
Yeah.
And then they put the album out and the big hit's the first track. I get why. I get it. Because it's like, oh, it's familiar. The casual fans will get it and go, oh, it's that song. Yeah. Maybe I'll listen to the rest. I've actually always preferred to have maybe that song is number 3 or something.
Yeah.
So that you kind of get through those initial intro songs and you're like, oh, okay. You know, maybe that's not quite the big hit, but I didn't mind that.
Yeah.
Then you get to your big hit and you go, I'm already 3 in. There's only 7 left. Oh, I'll keep going.
Yeah.
And then there might be one other single sort of.
Well, that's how
number
you
7.
do the concert. That's not how you do the album.
Well, that too. No, I like that. I actually quite like an album where the opening track is not a single.
Yeah. I mean, that because in the old days it was, you know, you put the album together and then you go, well, I think this is the single. Like it's track 6.
Yeah, put that
that's
number
the
1.
single.
Yeah.
Whereas this was like, oh, that song. That's good.
Yeah. And look, I'm sure, there are definitely exceptions to that rule.
Yeah.
Of mine that I've just forced upon everyone.
But yeah, I do love All in Your Mind. I reckon like a solid 5 on the cusp of infinity.
Okay.
This is on the cusp.
For me, I think I said it was a 3 and then it pushed up to a 3.5.
Yeah.
So we're the only way is up, Mariah.
The only way.
Smashing into a little Alone in Love, which was also a first listen. By Mariah and Miriam once again.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I wrote about this one is that it grew on me as it went on.
Yeah.
So you're listening to it, it's like, oh yeah, cool, little sort of a ballady moment. But even as the song, before it was even finished, my enjoyment went up as it kept going. And I did bump this up on re-listen as well. And I even wrote that I might like it more than Vanishing. Which actually is reflected in the score. But again, could change. There's a TBC on Vanishing. You know? Do you have any moments, tidbits about the Alone in Love?
On an album that has so many big belty songs, like this could easily get lost. But, you know, she gives it full welly. Like she jumps in with both feet.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think I'm all alone for about a minute and a half. Hold, sustain. That's the other thing, because we're so used to Mariah doing vocal runs. And I think a lot of modern singers use those as, oh, I can't actually hold a note. So I'll just go up and down and dance around. Yeah. And yes, Mariah can dance around. But when Mariah wants to hold a note,
she's like,
she will go, hang on.
Hold my purse. Hold my drink.
Hold my drink. I'm going to be alone in love right here.
for an hour and a half.
An hour and a half. Is she still singing that song? Yeah, someone pay her. Tell her to go home. But yeah, it is one of my favorites on the album. It is glorious. It is gutsy. It's a gutsy song. And yeah, I feel like all the ones she did with Old Mate Photocopy, like they're the best songs on the album.
Yeah, sure.
Like all the ones that they've brought someone in to try and jazz it up a little bit, they're like, yeah, they're okay. Yeah. But, you know, it's like when Walter Snuffleupagus went and worked with, I'm calling him that now.
Yes, you gotta.
When he went to work with Darren Hayes, who with Daniel Jones had made some incredible music. And it's like, oh, well, just bring in Walter Afanasieff. He did all those amazing songs with Mariah. He'll be able to do amazing songs with Darren Hayes. Yeah. And it's like, no. No, didn't work for either of them. So yeah, I think they had a good chemistry when they worked together, when they wrote together, and this is one of those products. And I guess when you sit with it for something like that for so long, when you get to finally get into a proper studio and sing it, it's like, yeah, I'm going to sing the fuck out of this song. Yeah, true. Yeah, and she does. Like, mic drop. Bye. I don't think it's her best written song. Like, I think she's written a lot better since, whereas she's matured. Sure. But vocal performance of like going, look, I'm going to take this thin, reedy song and I'm going to give it some meat. Yeah. Vocal meat. And it has Mariah meatiness. There's a lot of Mariah meatiness in this song. All right. Well, my initial score for it was 3.5. Yes. But I did push it up to a 4 on a re-listen. Yeah, this is again in my 5 cusp of infinity songs. Okay. Now we have a little You Need Me, which was also a first listen.
Mariah and Rhett Lawrence. Supposedly she's never performed this one live.
No, and why would you?
Now, I did think we're getting rock Mariah. What is happening here? And it is so late 80s, early 90s. It was giving me
this
like...
could be on a Taylor Dane album, easily.
Yeah, the Taylor Dane, the Black Cat by Janet Jackson, which was, at the time, I would have been all over
Every
it.
album had one of these songs.
Yeah.
Every album had like I will try and do a rock song in case we need to. Like they may not hit as a pop thing.
Yeah.
So we'll make them wear some ripped jeans and a leather jacket and do a film clip and hopefully trick people into liking it.
And I have to say, it kind of worked for me.
Oh yeah.
It was one that I listened to. I was like, this is terrible, but I love it.
It's pure pop. And again, I think it's one of those things where her voice is like elevates it to like, this could have been a song that Debbie Gibson had a crack at, or Tiffany, or someone at the time. It would have been like, Rhett Lawrence has turned up with his guitar and some shitty keyboards. And you go, yeah, we'll do it. And then, it just has a bit more oomph than, it probably would have been in someone else's hands. But it's just one of those songs that I like. I think it's in a good place on the album because it comes after a big belty ballad. Yeah. And it's like, I need a bit of, little bit of G'ing up.
I almost feel like I'm one of, what's his name? Addicted to Love.
Robert Palmer?
I feel like I'm one of his backing dancers
doing a little
with the groove. Yeah. So look, it's really probably really a 3, but I gave it a 3.5 because I would have been all over it.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's 4 because it's fun and it's, silly, but it's, there's so many better songs on the album, but it is perfectly placed though, where it sits.
Yeah.
Like it is.
A little breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
We needed it, is what you're saying.
Yeah. You need me.
Just the song.
This song.
Me, I am this song.
Yeah.
Now we have Sent From Up Above, I apologise.
Yeah.
Which also a first listen. Mariah, Rhett Lawrence. Do not. Echo. My thinking of it, it's my sort of opinion, similar to, was it Alone in Love, I think, where I sort of started off a little lower, but as the song went on, it grew on me even within that first listen.
Yeah.
And then upon re-listen, the same thing actually. Just elevated it a little bit more.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts and feelings?
Yeah, it's one of those ones that like as soon as I hear it, I'm like, oh, this one, it's cute. It's got the and the breathiness and it's, it's again, perfectly placed on the album. The reason this is such a great album is the choice of where the songs go.
Yeah.
And,
flow.
You've just come out of like banging stupid rock guitars and silly production, and you get to this, again, a little bit overproduced bit of business that's kind of like, oh, yeah, this is fun. It's, it's sent from up above. And there are some great vocal moments, like when she's sent from up above. Like, you're like, oh, she's... Yeah, okay. She's really getting sent from up above.
From down below.
Yeah. But yeah, it's I like, it's cute and it's fun, but it's weird, like looking at it from so far away. Like I keep thinking of like how I felt about this album when it was out, and I'm trying not to compare it to, what she did with her writing and her performance in the ensuing decades.
Yes, for sure.
Sorry, ensuing months.
It even is a decade. A decade, I don't know her.
But yeah, it's at the time it was, again, like the songs that were down this end of the album were usually like the filler.
Sure. And
this feels better than filler, but it's, I've heard a lot worse songs down this end of the album. Like, there's that first Danny Minogue album. There's 8 songs that you're like, why do you even exist?
I just wanted Baby Love and Love and Kisses.
Yeah. Baby Love wasn't even on the album originally.
Oh, wasn't it?
No, that was a hit in the UK and they put it on later.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
a staple on.
Also, isn't it a cover?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is.
All
And
of
Jump to the Beat is as well. I'll never forget when they were asked, like Kylie and Danny were both asked, like, what's their favourite song of each other's and like what would they cover?
Yeah.
And I think Danny was like, oh, I think I'd do Shocked. You know, I really like Shocked. And Kylie was like, oh, I think I'd do Jump to the Beat. And Danny's like, yeah, it's not my song.
Already.
It's like, oh, I meant All I Want to Do. Is that your song? Yes, it is. Okay, good. Yeah, All I Want to Do. Now, I will say about Sent From Up Above, I think it's one, even as we're talking about it, it's probably the one that's the least memorable for me in terms of, oh God, what's the hook? What's the hook, you know?
Yeah.
When
you hear the start of it,
yeah.
you're like, oh, that one.
So that's right, yeah. So kind of what you said about it, it's not quite, it's better than filler, but it's the filler for this album,
Yes.
if that makes sense.
For this amazing album, this is the filler.
So my initial...
On another album, you'd be like, this is great.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, on Danny Minogue's debut album.
This would be incredible.
Party jam.
But when you're surrounded by all the other amazing songs it's surrounded by, it's like, well, it's good. It's just...
Yeah.
There's, you know... It's
Well,
the
especially starting
designated ugly fat friend at the party.
We both understand what that feels like.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, we're talking about an album that has Vision of Love on it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Now, my initial score was 3 out of 5. I did bump it up a little to 3.5. But, yeah, I do think it's probably the least memorable for me.
I think I'm just a solid 4.
Solid
4. There's a lot I like about it. It's just not. It's not my favourite.
Yeah, fair enough. Now we're getting into a real highlight for me, which is Prisoner, written by
Prisoner.
Mariah, Miriam, and Taylor Dane.
Yeah,
Taylor Now, I need to tell the story of how this happened. Firstly, invented rap. Just stating that. It's a fact. But I actually discovered this song on Shuffle in the car. So I had the album and I just shuffled everything.
Yeah.
And this song came on, and so I didn't know initially which album it was off. It was just like, oh. And because it very much has that early 90s. Yeah.
You knew it.
Because it's got that really early 90s, Janet Jackson rock-esque sound. That's what I grew up hearing. Yeah. I would have been 1 or 2. And so there's just something so nostalgic about it for me. But then hearing Mariah rap, which is not something I'd heard before, even though there's some lyrics that I'd changed. She also says "cuz," so I'm here for it. Yeah. But I basically heard it on shuffle and then broke out of prison. That's how that happened. I was like, I am not going to be a prisoner.
Absolutely.
And I escaped Wentworth. Now Mariah apparently hates this song.
Well, why wouldn't you? It's terrible.
It's so good. You got to notice all the ones I love are the ones that everyone hates.
Amazing.
It is so good.
It is so amazing.
What's so good about it is the attitude.
It's camp.
It's camp. It's the attitude. You feel like, and it begins with a little bit of rap, but then it comes back into rap at the bridge, and you're like, and it's like a moment. You're picturing yourself like, I'm gonna slay this.
Yeah.
And I think I'm just randomly one day going to sing it live somewhere.
Not gonna be a prisoner.
No. I'll just make it a whole moment. But yeah, and the fact that there's a Taylor Dane mashup is insane to me.
It's the best. And Prove Your Love was always my favourite Taylor Dane bit of business.
Perfect. Mine's Shelter. Like, I'll be your shelter. That's nah. Oh, sorry, Taylor, are you here? But no, I agree. It's almost like, for me, it's that whole thing of like, Vision of Love is the best song on the album in terms of like, it's such a good song.
Yeah.
Prisoner is my other favourite because it's just so camp and ridiculous.
Camp. It is so of that time as well. It's like, so feels like, oh, this was someone at Sony went, oh yeah, this is a number 1. Yeah. We're going to get the pretty girl to rap. And that way we don't have to hire any black people. Oh my God. And you're like, who is this executive? This is a bad person. But also, like, we know Mariah kind of was angling for that kind of sound. And this is as much as she was allowed to do.
She was getting, so she's like, I'm just going to slay this, I guess.
It's like, well, I have to do it myself if I have to do it.
But that's the thing. This was rap for basic white bitches. And hello, that's me.
I know.
And that's why I love it. So I mean, no surprise. It's an infinity for me.
Of course it is. What else is it going to be?
And what is your score? Are you an infinity as well? What's happening?
No, I'm 5, bordering on infinity.
Okay.
For pure camp.
Pure campness. All right. On to the final track. And I believe the second single.
Yes.
With A Little Love Takes Time.
Don't even.
Mariah and Miriam. Number 1 in the US.
Yes.
Number 14 in Australia. So her second biggest hit in Australia from this one. I feel like you've got some thoughts.
I love it so much. I love it so much.
So much. Do you want to hear a little bit how it... You might know the story, but how it almost didn't happen.
Go, tell me.
So Mariah says she just finished the album.
Yes.
They were sort of promoting some of the songs on a little mini tour.
Yes. Oh, that where she sang that little concert she did. Yes. I remember.
And she went and wrote this song with Ben, and was kind of business as usual, thinking this is going to be the next album. You know, this is the first song I'm writing for album 2.
Yeah.
So she says her record was being mastered, and then she goes, "Oh no, actually, it was ready. It was being pressed."
Yeah.
So the album was being pressed. And she played the song just for some executives to go, this is what I'm thinking. This is kind of where I'm going next. And they basically lost their shit because they're like, this is a number 1. We need to get this on the album. Yeah. So they said she had to go back to the studio and get it all happening, even though the album was technically done.
Yeah.
But she says, luckily she took their advice because it became her second number 1 single. And she says she's, thank God she did it.
Yeah.
So it's a moment in which she was kind of told what to do, but she actually looked back and said, oh, that was actually good advice. They actually were steering me in the right direction.
Yeah, that was a proper bit of business to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And the fact that they stopped the pressing of the album. So to give an example, Kelly Clarkson's Already Gone, which has almost the exact same track as Beyonce's Halo.
Yes.
Both songs by the same producer. Both women wrote their own songs, but the producer did it.
Yeah.
Obviously sent a very similar track, if not the same track, to them.
Yeah.
They wrote their songs, and for whichever reason, the Beyonce song Halo was released out into the world as Kelly was having her album pressed.
Yes.
And she freaked out and said, oh my God, they're going to think I'm ripping off Beyonce.
Yeah.
The album's done. I had never heard her song. Calls up, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Ryan Tedder. Yeah. And she's like, how could you do this? You gave me the same song as Beyonce, let alone, anyone but Beyonce. And now they're going to think this. And he was like, no, it's not the same song. And she's like, no, pretty much is.
Pretty much it is.
So she said, okay, well, look, they're not going to stop the presses for me. They're not going to stop this.
Yeah.
Like she tried, they wouldn't do it. It's just like, okay, at least promise me it won't be a single. Oh. And then they were like, BTW, it's the next single. Yeah. Then she went on to do a video for it. It's just like, at least we can make the video something interesting. And it was done with, I'm going to blank on his name, but he did All the Lovers for Kylie, but also Talk. Joseph Kahn.
Yeah.
So a film director and lots of well-known videos. And they had this whole idea. It was very exciting. And it was too dark in a sort of Britney Spears Every Time kind of way. And so the label then were like, oh no, you can't do it like that. We're just going to edit it. So it's just you singing in a room. So she's just like, no, can't do any of it. Like, sorry, nope.
Okay.
And so my point is that this is something that they must have really believed in this song.
Yeah. Also,
in order to do that.
It was a different time. You could get away with it then.
Yeah, Kelly was obviously much earlier.
Yeah.
Mariah.
Much early.
I'm actually, how exciting. I feel like maybe it was just because of COVID, but I feel like Mariah needs to be on the Kelly Clarkson show.
She does.
That would be really good. Like a whole hour though.
Yeah.
Just Mariah.
And then do a couple of duets.
Oh, that'd be cute. Yeah. Prisoner. They would just sing Prisoner. Now we also had a video for this. Mariah goes to the beach or her bathroom, as she believes. There's no hot dogs, but there is a sad payphone swinging off the hook, which also won an Oscar. One thing I did notice immediately was the fake lashes.
Yes.
And I thought, it's just because it's been, put into HD all these years later. They probably didn't see it at the time. Then I watched Mariah's Memories and Rants.
Yes.
And Beauty School Mariah says no. She said it's the first thing she noticed. Like, oh, they can see the glue.
Yeah.
I had 500 hours of beauty school. You should not see the glue.
Never see the glue.
But that's the whole video.
Yeah.
Nothing happens.
I will,
went to number one, doesn't
I will
matter.
tell you, I immediately went out and bought the largest black towel I could find so that every time I had a shower, I could be draped in it and sing Love Takes Time.
Oh my God. Why am I not surprised? You were 35.
I was 19!
Oh my God. But
Because you know what I
for
love
this-
about this song? I love the simple lyrical change from I don't want to be there to I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be there alone. Like, it's very clever.
sometimes it's little things like that that make
It's
it.
like, oh,
Yeah.
to heal when you're hurting so much. Oh my God, Mariah.
So I will say this is one that I actually liked it straight away, but even then it's still grown on me. I wouldn't say it's top tier Mariah, but it is very good. So I gave this one a 4.
Oh, this is infinity.
Okay.
Plus infinity.
I'm not surprised.
This is primo.
I think we're going to say
Primo
something
Mariah.
else.
Also,
Prolo Mariah.
I've seen it live.
No. And that's the thing. This could change things.
Oh,
Could change things.
the whistle.
Oh,
Because
really?
it's not, the whistle is quite down in the production
Yeah.
of the single, of the album. It's there, but it's more like a background vocal.
Yeah.
But
sure.
when you get I Know That You Do and I Feel That You Do inside.
Yeah. God, it's like she's in the room.
Finger in the ear, hand wave. Oh my God, I'm gone. I'm gone. I'm gone.
Is it on MTV Unplugged? Because we will get.
I'm trying.
I think it
It
is.
might be on the purple cassette, the purple VHS.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's where I know it the best from.
All right. Well, I'll write it down to look that up.
But yeah,
Right.
there's a big wave and a finger jammed right in that ear.
Love a finger jam.
Oh yeah.
Now, just some overall thoughts. So this is partially what I wrote at the time, but also a little bit that I've kind of added as well. Which, upon first listen,
Yes.
it feels like a collection of songs.
Yes.
But then upon re-listen, you start to be like, oh no, this does start to fit together. I think it's because, as we've talked about, there's some of the overproduction and some of the time, but it's almost like
There's
the
a
gaps
couple of
start
this,
to.
I'm trying to shove this out of the album as like as a single. It's like, no, just let everything hang together.
Yeah, just let it be.
Let them all be mates.
But really, there are no duds. The vocals are incredible. It's very, her voice is so clear. And for an album that's 30 years old, it doesn't feel super dated in comparison to other.
6 months old.
Sorry, I meant 30 months old. That's what I meant. 3 months old. And the dated song, the ones that do feel dated, it's a positive.
Yeah, it's a fun
it's an
dated.
exciting.
It's like, oh my God, it's so
fun kind of
90s.
dated. Yeah.
I'm
Like,
like into this.
And then you've got a song like Vision of Love that is timeless.
Epic.
But yeah, look, I enjoyed it, and I do think as I've said, there's quite a few growers on there. So if we did this again in 12 months, I might be like 5 infinity.
Yeah.
So yeah, what about you? Overall thoughts for the
Overall thoughts, look,
debut.
I think she has done better work since, but for pure enthusiasm and just, for lifting some what could be mediocre songs that are way too produced, like lifting them out of the doldrums, because it's one of those things. It's like her voice is one of those ones that a lot of singers at the time their vocals were drowned in production.
Yeah.
Because they're a bit thin and reedy on the singing side. People with regular names need to have their vocals a bit squashed by overproduction, so you can't really hear how they can't sing.
I will say I'm always like overproduce me because I don't always
you
like
can't sing. I know.
my own voice. Also that, but I also don't always love my own voice. So I'm like, can you like compress this?
Whereas this is like,
I sang a beautiful ballad version of Hollaback Girl, and you were giving me shit like
okay,
that.
yeah,
I mean,
know.
come
so,
on.
I'm so mean. I'm so sorry. But yeah, it's just like, because her voice is so big and so powerful and so soulful, it does carry the more kind of saccharine and very highly produced moments, it rises above them.
Yeah.
As she sings, "Now I'll rise above." I'm not going to be a prisoner.
I don't want to be a prisoner.
Now I'll rise above. And she does. So yeah, I think there's, and there are a lot of Mariah songs, coming in the next few years that I'll be like, yeah, nah.
But I am curious as we go through.
But this album has, a couple on there that I'm like, look, I still like it. I still have fond memories of it. I still enjoy it when I hear it. So yeah, I don't think there's a stinker on here, but there's, there are so many great songs that the other ones kind of feel, if they were on later albums, you're like, oh yeah, this is good. But now it's like,
yeah, sure.
Like, you've got Love Takes Time and Vision of Love and Vanishing.
Yeah.
And All in Your Mind. And I Don't Want to Cry.
And Someday in Prisoner.
I Don't Want to Be a Prisoner. And Someday, which is a good song, buried in there somewhere.
Okay.
So yeah, I like and all the songs hang together. I like the ebb and flow of the it
feels like an album.
Up tempo. We're having a rest now. We're going to be rock and roll. We're now rapping in prison.
Absolutely, invented it.
Yeah, it's good. It's so good.
All right.
The whole album gets an infinity.
Great. So for me, I am because part of me is thinking ahead, and I sort of averaged it out of what I gave it. It's a 3.5 out of 5
for the whole album.
But I do think there is room to grow. That's the thing. To be quite honest, I don't think I'd give any. I don't know her albums a score that high. But again, I am the harder marker. But just based on what I'm looking through, a lot of you've got your 5s, your infinities.
You just give Infinity, so I guess we're okay.
I did. I gave Vision of Love, Prisoner, and Someday Infinity. And there were a lot of 4s. Love Takes Time, and I think these are ones that will also. I've not had the 3 months that you've had.
Yeah, I've had an entire 3
to
months loving this.
So I've exactly for me not the case.
Decades.
But also, I am keeping in mind of what's to come as well. Yes. So it's like if I gave this Infinity and then there was a more Infinity album coming, that's confusing.
That's why I get Infinity to the Power of Infinity from. And Infinity 6.
All right. Without thinking too much, favourite track?
Oh, look, it's always been a bit of a toss-up between Vanishing and Vision and Love Takes Time.
And the whole album.
And the whole album. It's hard to split them. Like Love Takes Time, I like later versions even better than this one. Mm-hmm. So I can eliminate that from my favourites. I think it's just going to have to be Vision of Love.
Yeah.
With Vanishing, ascendant.
Right behind it.
Yeah.
No, I think...
I could, but it's how can you turn your back on Vision of Love? Yeah,
I would say my favorite / the best track is Vision of Love.
Yeah,
Prisoners knocking on that door though for campness. And what about your least favorite? Now this doesn't have to be negative; it can just be the one that maybe you don't return to as much.
Probably, You Need Me.
Yeah, look, I had You Need Me. As we've gone through this, I thought maybe Sent From Up Above just because of that memorable factor. Yeah. It's the one that when I hear the name, I go, hey, which song is that?
You know what I think? I think the guitar in You Need Me is just it feels so not Mariah. That kind of strident 90s.
And it is funny because Mariah does seem to like some rock songs. A lot of her covers are old rock songs.
Yeah. And I think
maybe it's just not quite
she's
her.
got a whole album of indie pop that she made. Her
Ugly
Ugly Daughter.
Was that? Oh, yes. I was like, Impossible Princess? That was Mariah.
But, it's just, I don't think this is, like this song becomes increasingly discordant with her sound as she goes along. So it's with hindsight, you're like, what is this thing?
But that can sometimes make those kind of songs special.
Yeah. Well, that's why Prisoner is so much fun.
Yeah. We'll touch on it in the second album as well with a few moments. But I think that brings us to the end of the debut album.
that brings us to the end of Mariah Carey's debut album. And once again, Posh has been listening to it after we finished, and has a couple of updates. So what have you reassessed now? What else have you changed your rating on?
I want to keep the Lamley up to date, obviously. Originally, I'd said that Sent From Up Above was maybe one of my least favourites because I couldn't instantly remember it from just the title. But
even though I went having
re-listened to the whole album, I was like, no, I actually quite like that one. So I'm going to say, I guess my least favourite would be You Need Me, simply because it's just not a super Mariah sound. Like, it's not a bad song. It's just not, the Mariah we know and love. And there's got to be a way in your mind sort of go back and forth. There's sometimes songs for me.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll be stuck in my head. I'll be singing them. And then sometimes I might go, not today.
I'm like that with someday.
But I wanted to clear that up.
So are you going to change your rating on the whole album, or it's just one or two songs, or have you got a different thing for that?
I had given the album a score of 3.5. I'm going to boost that up to a 4 as well, because it did have quite a few infinities, and I feel like it's got to just keep getting better and better. So 4 for now. It's already improved in the last day or so since we recorded, and
only 4.
Who knows? By the end of this podcast, in 2054, when I is only 19, I may have it up to an infinity. We'll see.
Infinity plus infinity. Well, I'm all spent from that album, reliving my life from 3 months ago. It's such a trip down memory lane.
So many memories.
It is, like, seriously, it is, I was 20. I was 19, 20 when it came out. Like, I was a kid.
I don't even know her. Who is that? Who is that person?
Who is that person? Well, you weren't born. You don't know. So next week, back to the chapter 14. No, chapter 15 we'll be up to.
Sure.
Oh my God, we're burning through them.
Yeah, there's so many chapters.
Thanksgiving will be cancelled, and we will also be having a fantasy.
A little fantasy.
A sweet, sweet one.
I hope so.
Oh, I feel a bit hectic inside at the thought of it.
A little sprinkling of ODB, please.
All right, bye, Lamely.
Bye, Lamely.